Welcome to the 35th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
We're here. We finally made it to Batman the movie.
We made it to Batman the movie. Yes, we're done with season one. Finished that last week, quote unquote, last week. And now we are moving forward with the movie before we tackle season two, because that's the way these were released. Very strange that it happened this way. This is not usually the case for TV series and movies, but that's what happened with this one. So, but I think I mean, we'll get into it, I'm sure, but it's one of those things that I think worked out pretty well. But I think most people know the movie more than the TV
Yeah,
series.
yeah,
Uh,
I think so too.
the movie was, for a while, the TV series was in this weird sort of limbo state because it was owned by Fox. It was produced by Fox, but the rights were held by Warner Brothers, DC, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really, this sort of this thing that was in limbo. It was shown, the TV series was not as readily available as the movie was. The movie, I guess, was much clearer in terms of its distribution rights. So they released a DVD. It was on VHS first, and it was DVD, and then I think it's on Blu-ray. I don't think there's been a 4K release for it. That's probably the next step if that hasn't already happened. I'm curious, how did you like when you watched it this time? How did you stream it? Did you watch it on Blu-ray or DVD or
I
what
streamed it. I
do you?
watched it on Prime.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I have the DVD that came out that Fox put out, and it's got some bells and whistles. It's got some special features. It's got commentary during the film by Adam West and Burt Ward, which is really cool. And it's got a couple of different, like I said, little bonus documentaries on it and everything like that. So it's pretty good, but yeah, I don't know that it's streaming. You'd think it would be on, Max.
Yeah, I'm
Along,
surprised it wasn't on Max. That's where I went first to look for it.
yeah, yeah,
And I didn't see it on there. So I was like,
neither is
okay,
neither is a series. So apparently those rights still need to be worked out.
apparently.
But
I
for
I
the
bet
most
if it
part,
was
most
on
people saw the
Max,
movie. Go ahead.
I bet if the series was on Max, it'd get lots of watches.
I would think so. And the series as well, I think it'd be a great opportunity, but uh so I know that, I know that some people click our YouTube links because they think it's the series. And we're streaming the actual episodes. And I'm sorry if we don't mean to fool anybody in thinking that, but uh I wish it was more readily available because it's awesome. The more people that can see it, the better, I think. And even if you haven't seen it, it's weird. It's one of those things that especially the movie, is such a linchpin. I think more people, when they think of Adam West and Burt Ward as Batman and Robin, they think of things in the movie, scenes in the movie that happen. They're so iconic, and people who haven't even seen the movie, who haven't seen any Batman from the 60s, know a lot of the jokes, the memes that are online about, certainly the bomb scene is probably one of the most famous, as well as the shark scene is
The
probably the
shark scene,
second is most famous. So,
them
uh,
just running.
yeah, exactly. They're just running around. Uh, yeah. So, lots of major things happen in this movie. Um, so I can't wait to discuss it. Do I have any more items of business before we get into it, Drew?
Not that I can think of. Let's just get into it.
Gotcha. Um,
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, okay, so this is Batman the movie, came
Yep.
out 19 summer of 1966. I was looking around IMDb for the exact date. I didn't see it on here. So I don't know the
Uh,
exact date it came out.
well, according to uh, something I read, that it was originally going to premiered in Austin, Texas. I know that. Um, But you know what? I don't have the exact date on here either. So I can't tell you either. But it's okay. I mean, people can
Yeah.
look that up in Wikipedia. Look, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. We're not going to pretend that we are like the
Experts.
end all be all, the back computer of this, because this movie in particular has been written about, has been talked about, has been blogged about, has been, mentioned many, many, many times. So, we're going to go through our personal thoughts about it and our observations over the course of this episode. But yeah, we are not a definitive expert in the realm of Batman 60s or really anything. So we don't pretend to be, but we are not going to recap it either, right, Drew?
No, we're not. I didn't want to try to recap this movie, but I will give a short description of it. But
Okay,
let's
then
that's
yes,
coming
then
up
without.
soon. That's coming up soon. First of
Okay.
all, let's let them know that it was directed by Leslie H. Martinson and written by Lorenzo Simple Jr.
Hmm.
We've heard that name lots since we were discussing season one.
Absolutely. I also want to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the enemies of crime and crusaders against crime throughout the world for their inspirational example. To them and lovers of adventure, lovers of pure escapism, lovers of unadulterated entertainment, lovers of the ridiculous and the bizarre, to fun lovers everywhere, this podcast is respectfully dedicated. If we have overlooked any sizable groups of lovers, we apologize. That about cover it, Drew?
Yeah, that covers it. I do love the opening scene though, and
The sequence there with the
yeah,
spotlight and all that.
yeah, with the spotlight and all that. I like that. I like that opening. It's different from the series openings.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
and we
I don't think they actually use the actual Batman theme music, TV theme music in the movie. Instead, it's incorporated in the score by Nelson Riddle throughout the whole movie. And I think the score is really incredible. But yeah, the Batman theme, I don't think is actually like in it in its entirely, not like it is in the series. And as you said,
right.
it's not, they could have just slapped the series intro on in the beginning. How cool would that have been to see on the big screen? How cool would it have been, like, you're a big fan of the show in the 60s, 1966, you love the show, everybody's got Batmania at this point, and then boom, you can see it on the big screen. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait 2 years. You don't have to wait till the series is over. It's right there in the height of, like, you're feeling it. It's great. It's amazing. And then boom, you've got this opportunity to see it on the big screen, which I think must have been just awesome in 1966. I was not around at that point. Have you seen it on the big screen?
Yes, I have. I actually saw it a few years ago. You've heard me talk about the Art Craft Theater where they show older movies. Well, they showed it there. Probably saw it 4 or 5 years ago.
Nice.
So they showed it during. I remember it was during July, and it was awesome. It was awesome to see it on the big screen.
It is
So
really cool to see it on the big screen. This is filmed for the big screen. I mean, they take some of the things, you could tell the sets, and some of the even
yeah,
shots are from the TV series, but really they just open up Batman's world, the 60s world, so much in terms of, you've got shots from the air, the shots from the sky, you've got these overhead shots, you've got big, vistas and everything like that. It's like it really opens this up in a lot of ways. And I think I don't think Leslie Martinson, who you mentioned as the director, gets near enough credit because he's done a few other movies as well of note. But this really, like, I think he didn't just take a TV series and slap it on the big screen. He opened up the world a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we move on, let me do the description of the movie. The arch villains of the United Underworld, the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and the Catwoman, join forces to dispose of Batman and Robin as they launch their fantastic plot to control the entire world. From his submarine, the Penguin and his cohorts hijack a yacht containing a dehydrator which can extract all moisture from humans and reduce them to dust. The evildoers turn the 9 Security Council members in the United World building into 9 barrels of multicolored crystals. Batman and Robin track the villains in their bat boat and use bat charged missiles to force the submarine to surface.
Yes. So that's a quick recap. But it says, I mean, there's so much that goes on in this. The script by Lorenzo Semple Jr. is really well done. And I love the fact that he, incorporates cliffhangers, even though we don't have to wait and we don't get the standard, narration of each time, but yet like it seems like every, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, Batman and Robin are in a situation where it looks pretty bleak, and then it actually cuts away and we don't know exactly how they get out of it, and then we cut back to find out how they got out of it. So I thought it was a real kind of inventive way to incorporate those kind of cliffhangers within the movie itself.
Yep. No magic Batman this week.
No Magic Batman needed this week. Ah, man, we miss Magic Batman. All right. Well, next episode, well, no, 2 episodes, right? In two
Yep.
episodes, we'll
Two
have Magic
episodes.
Batman. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So tell me before we get also into other things, do you remember the first time you watched this movie? Did you see
Jeez.
it before you saw the show?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think I
so
did either. I don't think I
because
did either.
I was the earliest memories I have of watching the show were when I was 5. So, and I was watching it in front of the television, eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So, I didn't see the I don't think I saw the movie until probably mid 80s or something. Probably when it came out on VHS.
Yeah, I'm not, the timeline is all messed up for me too. I don't know exactly where I was or, what I was doing when I saw the movie. Heck, I barely remember, I remember seeing parts of like episodes. So, but my memory or I feel like I watched the show and was introduced to the show first. And then at some point I saw the movie, probably, on prime time on one of the UHF channels or something that was showing it. And because in a lot of ways, it is they were going to air this. I guess if you read about it and everything, the original plan was to have a movie first and then spin that off into a series, which is done all the time. And it was done in the
Mhm.
60s, was done since the advent of television, really. I mean, it was pretty common to take movie concepts and transfer them into series, sometimes with the actual cast from the movies. And that was the plan here too, but it worked out that uh, ABC and the affiliates, Fox and everything, they greenlit it right away, so they went right into a TV series, and then they still wanted to sell it to foreign markets, so they felt that the movie would be the best way to do that, so they filmed the movie in between seasons 1 and 2, and I think in a way that it works out better that way because after watching the series as season 1, as we just recently have done, it really feels like a culmination when you have all four of the big bads together. Like if you'd seen all four of the big bads first, and then watch the show where they're introduced, separately, it would have kind of felt flat, like a little bit like, oh man, I like their interaction, or that kind of thing. And they don't really reference the show that much. They don't reference like the events on the show. Like when we're introduced to the United Underworld, we have no idea how they formed this United Underworld, um, or when. And there's no explanation as to why the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler are out of prison. But they escape pretty much on a regular basis. So it's
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we've
and
seen that throughout season one. So, and it's what's surprising is when we're at police headquarters, they're like they don't even know they're loose.
no, they don't.
Let's put it up on the closed circuit TV, and then we find out they're all surprised that all four of them are loose.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like, so which criminals are at large right now? Well, let's check. And it's like, really? Like I would think that this would be something that you would be like working on constantly once they were notified that they were loose, right? Now Catwoman, as far as we know, if we go by the linear nature of the show, the series, she should be presumed dead, right? Because
Yep.
the last time we saw her, she looked like she was not gonna make it. She looked like she had spent one of those 9 lives. And so, but there's no explanation as to why she's still around, or why she doesn't look like Julie Newmar, or anything
I
of that
mean, yeah.
nature.
Well, that brings up a point. Batman didn't even recognize her out of her mask.
Well, why would she? Why would he? Because he doesn't look like Julie Newmar.
So,
Um,
since we're discussing this, let's talk about this right now.
all right,
How
let's
do you
talk about
think?
Julie Newmar.
Yes. So, how do you think um, Lee Merriweather compares to Julie Newmar?
I think it's unfair, first of all, to compare Lee Merriweather to Julie Newmar because Julie Newmar is Julie Newmar, right? Julie Newmar is unique. She originated the role. She was the one who created the costume. She basically set the template, right? And Lee Merriweather, I mean, I don't know what she would have come up with her on her own if she had, but basically she had to use that framework. She used the same outfit, roughly speaking. She tried to use the same mannerisms. She was slinking around and everything like that. So I think, so she's not playing straight up just Lee Merriweather playing the Catwoman. She's going by what Julie Newmar set up. So,
And I
and
have to agree with that. And we even one of the funny scenes is when they're looking through that periscope when they're in the submarine. She starts making those cat noises, and the henchman next to her is looking at her like, "What the heck?"
I the little things like that. That's what I love. Like the big things are fun, like the set pieces and we'll get into it, all the cool bat vehicles we get in this and all that. And I mean, we get so much cool stuff in this. But that's why I really credit Leslie Martinson and because I don't know how much is written by Semple Jr. because I know he's responsible for a lot of it, but I find it hard to believe that Lorenzo Semple Jr. wrote the scene where she's purring, and she's making cat noises in the periscope, and then that guy is that sort of henchman is looking at her like, what the like. But that's such a great touch, just like the touch of when they're going, like when the dynamic duo are in the Batcopter and they're going over and they see like the all the women working out, and then they all like scream hi, and then all the police officers salute kind of them and everything. Like they're just really, really nice small touches that I really, really appreciate. I'd love to see the original shooting script for this because I do understand that there were some scenes that were written that were not shot either for whatever reason, for various reasons. But just to see how much was added, and improv. I understand that Burgess Meredith improvised a lot of his lines in this movie too. And everybody's working together to make this just a fun thing. And see, you wouldn't have that unless those 3 actors Frank Gorshin. I'm going to make sure I try to pronounce it correctly because I've gotten called out on it, and believe me, it's an affliction that I am well aware of. That for some reason I want to add a W and call it Frank Gershwin, but it's my mouth just sometimes doesn't take heed. But anyway, Frank Gorshin, right? It's going to sound weird now to me. But anyway. Burgess Meredith and Cesar Romero, if they hadn't got a chance to play those characters prior to the movie, they have experience with it. They know what the characters are like. They can add little touches, which they do. And I think it just benefits. And the same thing with Adam and Bert. Their camaraderie is already there and already established so they can just sort of play off each other. And I think it just works a lot better. This feels like a universe that's been inhabited before because it has for a whole season, and these guys are all used to it. So, yeah, the only thing that's really new here that kind of like that kind of throws everything off a little bit is Lee Merriweather. And again, I don't want to discredit her because I think she does a really good job, especially as Miss Kitka. I do think that she plays that really well, and it would have been very, very different if Julie Newmar had done that. If Julie Newmar had been playing Miss Kitka and then tried to play off that she was, in disguise, I mean, we would have been like, hey, I mean, Batman has seen her without her mask. Like he knows what she looks like. Like that doesn't, I mean, obviously it's a superhero thing, so they could probably play it off, but still, I mean, in this very episode, this very movie, you have like, the Penguin trying to mask himself as somebody else and they see right through it.
Him
uh,
wearing a mask just looked funny.
well, it was one of those, it's those puzzling things like when they go to attack the UN. I know we're jumping around here, but we can because
Yeah.
we're not doing a recap. So I love it when the assault on the UN, all four baddies are wearing masks for some reason. Like like nobody's gonna recognize them if they're not masked. It's those ridiculous little touches that are just so bonkers that you're just like, oh, you have to appreciate it. You have to, or else you're just gonna not like this movie. And you're not gonna like this whole sort of attitude that it has. It's the ridiculousness and the absurd, as Adam West used to love to call it, the theater of the absurd, that makes this series what it is. And granted, pure Batman fans who love the grim, gritty, serious Batman, the Dark Knight, are not going to love this. I love them both.
Same
I,
here.
and so I appreciate this, and it's partly because I grew up with this. This is the Batman I grew up with, and yet I can still appreciate the Dark Knight, Miller version and everything else that's gone along with that. So, but this stuff is just stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think that Lee Merriweather, getting back to that point, she's probably in the whole 60s run, she's probably like my third favorite Catwoman. And I don't mean that as any disrespect. It's just that I would have rather had Julie Newmar, sure. But I think she does a decent job. And particularly, like I said, in the scenes where she's playing Miss Kitka, because I do think those scenes are really well done. And they would have, man, I'll tell you what, they get away with the sequence where they go out on the date, Kitka and Bruce Wayne. They get away with a lot of innuendo that they never could have done on the show. And if that was Julie Newmar, that stuff would have been like they would have had to rate this movie R. Because just the innuendo alone, she probably would have made very like just like the censors go bonkers. Um, but as it was, it kind of is played straight up and and it's more fun than anything else. But yeah, I think she's good. I've met her. I've got her. I do have her autograph, Lee Merriweather, on a picture of Catwoman. So I do appreciate her as Catwoman. She will. She's not done with the '60s Batman, by the way. Lee Merriweather will return. Don't think she's knocked out, but she will not be Catwoman again. This is her only time being Catwoman.
I gotta say that the villains in the movie they had good chemistry together, and the Rid the Riddler, he seemed more crazy than the Joker. So sometimes it felt to me like the Joker was trying to rein in everybody.
I do think that there's some truth to that, and I think part of it is that I do believe just by a year or two that Caesar is the oldest of the actors. So by default, he feels like the father figure. And I think also the fact that the Joker is one of the oldest villains, he also seems like the father figure in terms of the head of the group. But he doesn't really do much in this. Like with all four baddies, it's kind of hard to give them all equal time. And the Penguin supplies the hideout. The Penguin
Yeah,
supplies the submarine. The Penguin supplies the
the
henchman.
henchman. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's basically the master. He felt like he was the leader, the mastermind.
yeah, he's got everything. The Riddler supplies like
His
he's
his riddles.
he supplies the riddles, which are combined with jokes, which means they make even more less sense than ever. Uh, like
Let's go.
don't try to figure out these riddles. Oh, you got them?
Oh
These
yeah,
riddles
I
are
wrote them all down. Hey,
these
hang on.
riddles
Let me bring
are nobody
some of
could
these.
these riddles are insane.
That was what's one of the things I had to laugh about was these riddles in this movie. I mean, they didn't make any sense. They didn't make any sense. All right, here's one of them. What does a turkey do when he flips upside down? He gobbles up.
That was it.
What weighs 6 ounces, sits in a tree, and is very dangerous? A sparrow with a machine gun. I'm like,
And the seal that deal, the little touch that I love is that Commissioner Gordon in the background, he just goes, "Of course." He
what
just
has yellow
acknowledges
skin
it like,
and
"Of course it is." Why didn't I see that? Why didn't we all see that?
what has yellow skin and rights? A ballpoint banana. What people are always in a hurry? Russians. Now that I could see in a joke book.
Sure, sure. But then Robin makes the connection because he connects the two, right? To
Yep.
to mean that so if you take both of those jokes and you combine them into a clue, it means a Russian is going to hurt him herself, right?
This is what he says. Someone Russian is going to slip on a banana peel and break their neck.
Yeah. And I think Batman acknowledges by saying correct Robin because he already knows, of course, because he's
Mm-hmm.
Batman. And he says that's the only possible solution. That's the only possible like yeah, that there's nothing else. We could nobody else could have gotten. Yeah, that's it. They're really bizarre. They're really funky, but they're fun, and that's what in this sort of mixed up absurd world, that's the way it works here. So I love that. But you're right that the Riddler does come up with a plan to kidnap Bruce Wayne, although it doesn't really work out the way they want it to, because they can't understand why Batman isn't coming to save Bruce Wayne. They just can't figure it out. Um, But he does come up with that, and he's the one that has delightful glee whenever they fire a Polaris missile. He actually does manage to sort of hit the target and take down Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that helicopter scene when he shoots out, he's not even trying to. He just wants to put his riddle in the sky. Almost, almost shoots down Batman and Robin when they're in the helicopter.
Yeah, he does shoot him down. If there wasn't for that, fortunate rubber,
Rubber foam convention.
exactly. Uh,
I Batman. I thought I saw that out of the corner of my eye.
See, I wish they doubled down on that. I wish they'd said that he saw it at the corner of the eye and he steered them that way rather than, oh well, they just happened to land on it. Like I really that's the one thing I don't appreciate. I don't appreciate these weird sort of coincidences. Like the poor porpoise that risks its life, sacrifices his life for Batman and Robin. That's kind of ridiculous. And so we do have the loss of a shark and the loss of a porpoise, at least one porpoise. I think was there more than one?
There
Uh,
was there was a, there was more than one of them because it was Joker or somebody said something about trained purposes or something like that. It,
yeah.
it, it was kind of a side comment
So it
almost.
is, and I don't know if the octopus that was rigged up was live either, but I mean, we do have some, loss in sea life, which is unfortunate. So, uh, I don't think any real animals were harmed in the making of this, but certainly that shark was not real.
No, and it was pulling his leg.
Of course it was. Yeah,
That always kills me.
the way they make the connection that all four are behind it, the fact that it takes place at sea for Catwoman.
See Catwoman, like because cats like the sea apparently.
No, this one makes it clear that she does not. She does not like the ocean. So yeah, so the jokes are crazy, but they're fun. The plot is crazy, but it's fun. The yeah, the I think that you're right. The interaction between all four of them is really fun. This is the first time we get to see them interact together, and they're having a blast. And they're just doing their own thing, and it looks great. It works great together. You kind of wish you got to see this more, and I don't think we do. I don't think it's we haven't seen season 2 or 3 yet, so we don't know if there's any more team ups to come. But my guess is that this is it. We don't, and we certainly don't get anything on this scale.
No, definitely
And
not.
whereas some of the more recent Batman movies and even the Tim Burton ones were criticized because they had too many bad guys involved. Um, this one's got four and it's great. Like they
Hmm.
like they
It
they
worked.
managed. I think, like I said, I think the Joker probably gets the shortest straw out of everybody, but he's still great that he's there. And it's still fun to watch him. His interaction with the Commodore
Commodore Smidlap. I love
is,
that name. He was
is pretty
basically
awesome.
his butler.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. He's like,
He was
your
ringing for
pallor.
his confounded tea.
Exactly.
I'm gonna catch up on
Uh,
my Dickens.
so one thing we definitely have to discuss is the awesome use and introduction of the Bat vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Of course, we right away we get the Batmobile. We get this wonderful extended sequence of Bruce and Dick hopping out of their convertible, and into the mansion and into the study, down the poles they go, and
And the introduction, because I brought this up during the series because I remember this. The instant costume change lever.
yep, yep, we finally see
Remember,
it. We
we finally
finally see
see
it.
it.
Mystery solved. How did they switch costumes? They have an instant costume switcher. Right there. So yeah, so we see that. then they hop down, they get in the Batmobile. We see some footage that we've seen on the show, but then we see some stuff that's mixed in with new material. And it goes out and it just we get aerial shots of it driving down the road, and it just looks spectacular.
Hmm.
And then they go to the airport, and in the airport, we get to see for the first time ever the Batcopter. And that looks amazing.
It does.
I don't know that they've ever produced a model or a die-cast version of it. I used to have a Batcopter when I was little by Corgi. And for audio viewers, this is going to suck, so I apologize. But it looked like this.
Oh, I used to have that.
And this is the one by Corgi. We'll probably do a feature on it, bonus feature at some point. But basically, it's a helicopter. It's all black. It's got a Batman logo on the side, and it's got wings, bat wings that fold together that form the main propeller. And it's orange, like it's red or orange, whatever you want to call it. And it looks pretty amazing. It's what you probably would think of a Batcopter would look like. This does not look like the Batcopter in the movie at all. But the Batcopter in the movie looks pretty awesome. I don't
Yeah,
know that
I was
I've
gonna
ever
save
seen
this.
a model version of it.
I was gonna save this for my shout out, but
Oh, do you have it? Oh, you have it. Ah, very
Hot
cool.
Wheels.
Ah, from Hot Wheels. Okay, so there is a version that you can get of the Batcopter. That looks pretty big.
Yeah,
Uh, that looks pretty that looks pretty big. That looks like it's on that looks like it's on the size scale of the Corgi Batmobile, the Corgi size Batmobile. But that looks pretty
okay.
awesome. I like that. I like
Yeah,
that. So do you like that design as well?
yeah, I like this design. The one you showed, I forgot I used to have that thing. I don't know
Hmm.
what happened to it. It's possibly it's possibly still at my mother's house. We have this thing with a bunch of cars and stuff in it. It could be in there.
Gotcha.
Next time I'm at my mom's house, I'm gonna look and see if it's still there. Because if it is, I'm gonna snag it out of
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this thing is
there.
awesome. This is one I bought a few years ago because I don't know where my original one was. But this one is they're you can find them pretty cheaply on eBay and whatnot. So pretty reasonable anyway. If you want them in the package, that's going to cost you a bit more, but yeah, so we get the Batcopter. It's the first time we've seen the Batcopter, and it's pretty awesome looking. And we get to see a lot of it here. We get to see shots of
Mhm.
it in the air. It's used a couple different times, and yes, it does get it does get put out of action. So I don't know if we'll ever see it on the show. Um, my guess is that, well, I don't know. We might. We'll see. Like I said, we still have seasons 2 and 3 to go. So we've see our second look at the Bat Cycle in this. Very cool sequence where they get on the Bat Cycle after the Penguin makes off with
The
the
Batmobile.
Batmobile again. They allow him to steal it,
Steal it. Hmm.
which I think is pretty cool. And what's really cool is that he says something to the effect of, "Oh, I'm back in my Birdmobile," which is cool
Yes.
because he when he stole it originally he converted it to a
Did it?
Birdmobile, and he
Yeah.
called it his Birdmobile. And so that's one of the only things in this movie that we get that's kind of like
A
from the
reference to,
series, a
yeah.
reference to something in the show, right? Is that he
Now,
says he's like, I'm back in my, he says something, I can't remember the exact line, but he says something about like he's reclaiming his Batmobile, his Birdmobile.
yep.
And then
Yeah.
so they get in the bat cycle, which we've seen before. We
Mhm.
saw that on the show. But there's a really cool sequence where they go up to the airport, and uh I understand this took a few takes to get it right eventually, and unfortunately I think Burt Ward suffered for it. But they Robin's in the sidecar, and at one point it shoots out the sidecar, and the sidecar and the bat cycle kind of land or end up at the
On either
the
side of it.
Batcopter on either side, and it just looks like a great shot. It's really, really
Yeah,
cool.
that was pretty cool. And
Um,
they called it I think Batman said he was releasing the go-kart or something like that is what they called it.
oh, really?
I'm pretty
We
sure that's what he said.
and we also get the Batboat,
Yes.
which I've seen the Batboat in person. It was at a facility in Metropolis, Illinois, where the Superman statue is and everything. They have um, a pop culture museum there, and they have at least one of the bat boats there. I don't know how many they created, and I don't know if it's used again. Like again, I don't know if this will be used on the show. I imagine we'll get to see it on the show at some point now that they've produced one for the movie. But Bat boat looks pretty cool as well, and it's got some really cool sequences. I think when they're on the water and doing stuff, and we see that we see the bat boat right away. So I
That
love
brings
that.
up another that brings up another point. When they went to the bat boat, they had a bat pole there that they slid down.
They did. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool to see them actually slide down a pole
Hmm.
outside. I don't know if it was the stunt people or if it was really, because it was really a far away shot. So my guess is that it probably wasn't really them, but who knows? It might have been. Um, I also really liked, okay, the as we mentioned at the top of the show, there's two famous scenes in this movie that everybody talks about. And one of them, the first one that happens within the first, I think, 6 minutes, and that's the shark attack. Uh, Batman's on the end on the bat ladder, which has a silly little sign that says bat ladder on it.
Bat ladder.
And he's trying to board this ship, which disappears because it's not really there. It's just really a hologram. And he gets suddenly attacked by a shark. Shark jumps up, or well, he comes out of the water and the shark's on him. It is an actual shark, at least in the context of the show. It's an actual shark. No way does it ever look like an actual shark. But in the context of the show, it's an actual shark, but it's got a bomb strapped to it, which is unfortunate. For years, I thought it was mechanical. I thought it was a bomb. And I think I would have liked that explanation a bit more than Penguin strapping a like bomb to an actual shark. But, then again, he's a bad guy. So, um, and a lot's made of the whole they have the shark repellent, the bat shark repellent that they get out, and they've also got other repellents as well in case of a attack by a barracuda or whatever. Um, but here's what I love about that sequence. Robin doesn't toss down the bat repellent, right? He goes down the ladder, and then in order to give it to Batman, he sort of flips on his head. He uses a flying Grayson like move
Hmm.
to do so. And we don't, at this point in the show, we don't have any history of where Dick Grayson comes from. None. There is no mention that he has a circus background or that his parents were trapeze artists or performers of any kind. We know nothing. All we know is that he's got an Aunt Harriet. That's all we know. More about Aunt Harriet in a little bit. But um uh but this is the only time that we've seen so far that has any sort of allusions to the fact that Dick Grayson has a little bit of trapeze artist in him, right? Because of his maneuver on that ladder. And I just really, really loved it. I don't know. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to do it, et cetera, but it looks so cool. And again, because of his background, that's my favorite part of that whole sequence right there is when he just sort of flips around and does that. And I love that. I love that. The rest of it's just silly. And it's funny. It's really funny. Um, but yeah, it's silly.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Um, Now I mentioned Aunt Harriet. She's mentioned in the credits. She shows up twice. We see her twice in this movie. In the beginning, when Bruce and Dick go from out of their like when they drive up to the mansion, Alfred and
She's
Harriet are there gardening, right?
yeah, she's out working in her garden, and Alfred's just there
Holding,
holding an umbrella
yeah,
over
keeping the
her.
sun off her. Good for him. And she waves. They both wave to him as they go by, and then they sprint in to go to the down to the Batcave. And then later on, when when the day is won and all is well and everybody's celebrating and around the world and Gotham as well, that the world has been saved from the four villains. We see Aunt Harriet and Alfred watching TV and watching the celebration. That's all we get of Aunt Harriet in this movie. She doesn't have a speaking role, but she does have a movie credit. So congratulations to uh to her for that. But yeah, Madge Blake gets a movie credit, but she doesn't really do anything. As opposed to Alfred, who actually has a pretty good 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 chunk of time in the movie.
Yep. We one of the big scenes with them is when he's driving the Batmobile. He's got his mask. He's got that mask on with his glasses over it.
Yeah. Again,
That was
masks not really gonna do much, but in this universe, a mask's mean a domino mask means a lot. It can hide a lot.
I always find that the scene in the park with Alfred and Robin funny because they're like we can't watch this, and then of course Bruce gets kidnapped when they're not watching it.
Hmm. I always forget about the sequence of where the baddies are going to kidnap Bruce Wayne, and they are riding those
Flying
jetpack
umbrellas.
flying umbrellas, and it just looks really cool. I mean, obviously, it's got shades of the Wicked Witch of the West on their brooms and all that, witches on their brooms, but still, it looks like they're having fun on there as well. It almost looks like the Riddler's on a sidecar, like a sidecar umbrella, but but
then then you have Catwoman meowing.
yeah, absolutely. But it's just, yeah, that's a really cool thing. I mean, Penguin's got some serious money if he's
Mhm.
buying all these things. I mean, the sub looks cool. Is there a Die Hard? I'm Die Hard. I did it again. Is there a die-cast version of the sub? I want a Penguin sub. That's what I
I don't
want.
I don't have a penguin sub,
You have a
just the bat copter.
so we need a Penguin sub. We need a Bat boat, and we need a Bat cycle. So we need die-cast versions of all of those. They probably exist. I can't imagine them not doing that. But maybe, in this weird world, maybe that hasn't happened yet for some reason. But I want the whole set. I want everything. Like all the vehicles from this movie, I want them all. Because they just all look so cool. In this day and age, this is 66. This is when, Bond's already happened and spy gadgets and gadgets are in.
Yep.
So yeah, they did a lot of that in this movie and they brought the vehicles. And so I give them props for all of their vehicle work, the special effects team and everything, because I thought that the sub looks great. The fact that it's got little flippers, the little penguin flippers on the back, floating, I love that. I love that.
Now there was
So
some
go
in
ahead.
the Batcave. We talked about some of the new vehicles and stuff, but in the Batcave we also had some new equipment in there. We had the magnifying glass, the magnifying lens, the film developing tank,
I see
and
as a detective yourself, you've got a magnifying glass behind you.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was there.
You must be doing some detective work yourself back there.
Yeah, it's called reading fine print.
Oh, I know.
It's
I
called being
know.
old and reading fine print.
I use my phone's camera magnifier to do the same thing. I can't those digest versions of comics and everything like that are really difficult on the eyes. So I get it. I get it. I'm sorry, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Uh, okay, well, I was talking about equipment. There was the super molecular dust separator.
Well,
Probably the only time they're going to use that thing in this series.
I think that was created for the actual like thing though. I don't think they had that just lying around. I think Batman had to create that in order to for the situation.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah, I
don't
could
I
see
don't
that.
think I don't think it's just laying there, waiting like collecting dust until they literally collecting dust.
Holy jumble. Yeah, well, Batman that scene where Batman goes and grabs the because it's like teetering, he's like, and then here comes Commodore Smidlap.
Bam!
Bam, knocks it down and then sneezes.
And sneezes.
Holy jumble.
I love the fact that their water dispenser has soft and hard water because they need the hard water because they have nuclear power. Uh, that's what powers we've established that's what powers the Batmobile is that atomic power that needs hard water. So I love the fact that that's used in the story for grim consequences.
Now, was this wasn't the first. I'm trying to remember. Was Penguin ever in the Batcave before? Or was that his first time in the movie being in the Batcave?
Well, it certainly acted like it. I got the feeling that he'd been in there before, but I might be confused. I know that we've seen Commissioner Gordon in there before. We've certainly seen them snatch uh women and take them into the Batcave to do something to them and then bring them back out. Um uh and sort of reminiscent of the first movie, we get criminals that die in the Batcave. They go to the Batcave and they never come back. Obviously, the Jill St. John character from the first two episodes
First,
of the
yep.
series never comes back. And then the five henchmen, I'm sorry, the five guinea pigs.
Yeah, the guinea pigs.
They even got GP on their t-shirts. Um, each one has a mother. I love that
Yeah.
line.
So we the battle scene we get in this movie at the end of the movie is really the only battle scene we get because the one in the Batcave wasn't anything.
No, it was just them like, being popped like balloons, which is
Yep.
just gruesome to think about. And um, so we actually get some deaths, some villain die in this, and that's unfortunate. And Robin kind of is like, are they dead? And Bruce is like, yeah, they're not coming back in this universe. Um, yeah. I mean, maybe a story can be written about how these five guinea pig guys are stranded in some sort of weird, antimatter universe or something, but and maybe they come back to wreak havoc on the Dark Knight and avenge themselves, but I think it's pretty grim. They kind of pass over it, but it's one of the darker elements of this comedy stuff that every once in a while the show is not it's not afraid to go there. It dips its toe into some dark humor every once in a while. And that's yeah.
All right. We haven't talked about some days you can't get rid of a bomb.
That is the all right, I'm just gonna say it. It's the best scene in the movie.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it might be the best scene in all of Batman 60s franchise. It is the epitome of this Batman. It is the epitome of this series. It's the high point of the movie. It's the most iconic. Everybody references it. It's always, it's a meme. Heck, I just used it recently to let people know that we were having some technical difficulties getting one of our episodes released. It's some days you just can't get rid of a bomb is one of those things that's just in pop culture. And people know that quote and they know this scene even if they've never seen the movie. It is so well done, and I've seen this movie hundreds of times. That scene in particular, I've seen maybe 200 times. And it makes me laugh every single time.
Every single
Every
time.
single time. Uh, Adam West runs so uniquely weird that it makes it even like physically funny. But the things that they put up against him, the woman with the baby carriage, the the
The
Salvation
nuns.
Army group that, I still have that song in my head.
Yep, I can hear the second.
And I'm gonna have that in my head for like months now. Yeah, the couple making out on the boat, which is probably the same couple that's making out in the beginning during the credits. Uh,
They're just all over the place.
they are. They're just making out all over the place.
The ducks.
The baby ducks, the riffraff in the bar, the
Hmm.
women that are just can't be bothered. They're just too busy enjoying the buffet. Uh, I mean, and just random people here and there. I forgot. I always forget about the whole tanks of propane or butane or whatever that he comes across that he's like, oh, can't go here. Um, it's just it's just classic and it's just awesomely done. My understanding is that Semple Jr. when he wrote the script, he wrote a few of those things, but it was really the director that put in even more stuff just to make it even more absurd and more crazy. And it doesn't overstate its welcome. It's just enough that it's hilarious. And yeah, if you have no other image from this movie or from this series or from Adam West's time as Batman, it's him holding a bomb over his head,
And
trying
running.
to figure out what to do with it. So good. So good. Um, any other notable? I mean, there's so much, right?
Yeah, there is so much.
Uh, there are some things that may. Oh, well, we didn't even mention this. Okay, so we mentioned that we get to see the switch for the Bat Poles on how they actually change their uniforms or changed into their outfits. We get that. And then you mentioned other devices in the Batcave, but this is also the first time we've ever seen, or even I think got the notion that the Bat Poles work in reverse. Like you
Yep.
can, yeah, you can switch back to your civilian garb just by launching yourself up the
Up
bat
the
pole.
Yep, and flipping the
Um,
switch the other direction.
exactly. So I thought that was really interesting. I was like, wow, I'd forgotten you could do that. Uh, I do think there's a couple of different notes for Batman here that I thought was kind of interesting. The fact that he out and out lies to the press about what happened at the beginning when he's had the press conference about the disappearing mansion. He just flat out lies to them. So
Yep.
Batman does not believe in a free press, which is unfortunate. I also thought that was interesting when he's playing Bruce Wayne and he's still under the belief that Kitka is on the level, that he doesn't know that it's Catwoman. He doesn't find out that it's Catwoman to the end,
Yep.
despite the fact that he's the world's greatest detective. Uh, But at one point, he says to the villains, the three villains, he says, if you've harmed her, I will beat you brutally and I'll kill you. He says, I will kill you. And that's a weird thing coming from Batman or Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they left that in because it just sounds odd coming from him. But he looks at them and he looks, I mean, Adam is pretty dead serious when he says that. As serious as Adam West can be.
Right. Well, if you think about it, once he escaped, one of the first thing he does is he rushes back there to save her.
Yeah, he does.
And then
Yeah.
then that's when he comes across the bomb.
Well, yeah, when he's yeah, when well he first goes to save her. He sees the bomb. He's like, we got to get out of here. He sends Robin out. And then he goes in and checks to see if she's there. She's not. And then he has to dispose of the bomb. So, yeah. So, and he keeps going back there and he keeps trying to find her. It's the first time, we get one appearance from Catwoman in season one with Julie Newmar. And I mentioned at the time that when we watched it that I really like her first appearance. I think and I know you really like that two-parter as well.
Yep.
And it's almost perfect in the sense that the way she's introduced and the way that Newmar plays it and the stuff that goes on between her and Batman is really cool, except for the fact that there's not a lot of interplay between them. There's not a lot of flirting. You don't really feel that connection between them in that first two-parter. In this movie, I feel like, character-wise, this is where that connection happens. This is where Bruce falls for, he doesn't know it yet, but he's falling for Selena Kyle. Although I don't know if she's ever mentioned as Selena Kyle in the show. But this is where Batman falls for Catwoman. And because after this, I mean, well, it'll be really interesting to see our next episode with Catwoman, which I think is going to happen pretty soon in season two. I think it's pretty early in season two. But I'll be really curious to see that after the events of the movie, if that now they have this sort of connection where it's more flirtatious because it does seem like they've really established that connection in this movie. And
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
it's weird that it's a different actress, but I think character-wise, I think it makes a lot of sense. And unfortunately, third season, when it's Eartha Kitt as Catwoman, they back off it. But I think they did that because they were scared because of racial implications, which is unfortunate. But my understanding is that they were interested in making a sequel to this movie, um, either after the second season or even after the third one. And one of the thing when they wanted to bring back Catwoman, but the distributors in the studio were uncomfortable with Eartha Kitt being Batwoman or Catwoman in the movie. They didn't know if Frank Gorshin would come back because I think we've already mentioned before that Frank doesn't come back in season two at all. So as much as we love seeing him as the Riddler in season one and in this movie, I do think we see him in season three, but yeah, he's kind of done with being the Riddler for a while. So there was a lot of questions, and Batmania had pretty much worn out. So that's why a sequel was never produced for this movie, which is unfortunate. Um, see if I have any other notes. Uh, I did think it was weird that the dynamic duo were looking for fingerprints on the buoy, and all four of the bad guys always wear gloves.
Yep. And then when they came across the penguin version of Commodore Schmidlap,
Yeah,
they were gonna take his prints and his fingerprints or something were his fingers were crushed or something. Remember, because that's why they took him to the Bat Cave in the
Yeah,
first
because
place.
to get a retina scan.
Scan. Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing, but um yeah, so there's some, bumpy stuff here, but that can be overlooked. And it's all part of the fun, really. A lot of this stuff is, I mean, everything is tongue in cheek. None of this is supposed to be taken literally, as far as, or I should say seriously. Uh, if things don't make sense, it's because they're not supposed to make sense. This world is crazy. This world is absurd. It's bonkers, but I mean, it's got its own sort of weird sort of sense of logic. It is at the ending, though. I do think it also has to be mentioned that when they're putting together the UN Security Council members, the 9 members, uh, Robin says, maybe we should tweak them a bit because the world needs some help. The world is, I'm paraphrasing here, but the world being what it is, maybe they can make the world a better place if they tweak them a bit. And Batman's like, nope, nope, can't do that. And we don't want to alter anything. You saw what happened when they used hard water, when the penguin, So and Robin says, "Gosh, you're right." But ultimately, it ends up happening anyway.
Yeah.
Because as good as Batman is, he's not perfect. And it's kind of not really explained exactly what happened, whether it was, the wrong brains in the right bodies or what, but they're all speaking different languages than they should be at the end when they're put together, when they're hydrated. And for some reason, they don't impale themselves on the equipment that was in the chair. Uh, when they rehydrate. Um, and then Batman just says, maybe it's for the best. Maybe we did make a change that will help things out. Now, you also have to remember that this is done in the 60s, the time of Cold War. Russia and the United States, not that they're on great terms now, but back then they were really, I mean, they were really against each other. Bay of Pigs and all of that.
Hmm.
So the fact that, Miss Kitka and Bruce Wayne were sort of thinking about getting together was really kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, that probably wouldn't happen in real life because the tensions were so high. Um, this is years. This is a decade before, at least the movie version of Spy Who Loved Me, where James Bond would get together with a Russian spy. Um, so I think this is in its own weird way. This is kind of addressing the satire of the times. There's also a reference to the president at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, which I don't think is extremely flattering. But then again, I don't think this is flattering. This franchise isn't flattering to any authority figures.
No.
It's not flattering to the police.
Mm-mm.
It's not flattering to the military. I mean, the sequence where Batman's trying to find out about the sub is really ridiculous.
Yeah.
That admiral is not uh portrayed in a very a good light. Let's put it that way. And so and and so I do think this is a little poke fun at that kind of thing as well. But it's all in good fun. It's not really like a serious commentary, I don't think, or meant to be taken too seriously. But it all adds to the charm of the movie, I think. I think this movie still holds up. I loved watching it for this review. And I love talking about it too, Drew. I'm glad we're doing this.
I am too. It's always fun rewatching this movie.
How many times have
Uh,
you seen it now? Do you know?
I have no idea. Lots.
Any sort of final thoughts on your take on the movie?
Um,
Do
I
you think it's the best of the series?
do I
Like if
I don't
people
know.
are only going to watch one thing, like should they watch? I mean, I think they should watch the first season we've talked about is great.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know if
mean,
there's
this
any
is a
moments. I don't know if there's any moments as great as the bomb sequence, but there certainly are really, really fun episodes.
yeah. I if you weren't going to watch anything else, I would say watch the movie because you're going to get a good glimpse of everything,
Sure.
except maybe Aunt Harriet.
You, you get a glimpse of her.
Yeah, you get a glimpse of her. But for the most part, but for the most part, you're going to get most of what you're going to get in the show in the movie. So even if you don't see the rest of the series, you're going to catch a lot of stuff from just watching this movie.
I've uh I've been told, I've heard that this is where the franchise of Batman 60s peaks. So, and it goes like, downhill from here, but we'll see. I'm really curious to look at season two to see how they build off this and to see how this continues. As we already mentioned, we know some things that are going to happen, like Frank Gorshin is not going to appear again for a while, so that's regrettable. But we'll see how the rest of it plays out. But I still love these characters and I still love this world.
Yeah, there's still some episodes I I have fragments of episodes in my head
I do
that I
too.
still want to see. So I'm sure we're going to see them in season 2 and
I hope
season
so.
3.
Yeah.
So
And we know no matter what, if it, bad or good or whatever you want to call it, we've got we've got Batgirl coming up in season three, and I know I'm looking forward
yes,
to that.
I am looking forward to that too because I've seen I know I've seen it multiple times, the episode where she's introduced. So I'm looking forward to her too. And probably can't see her. Maybe tilt her. She's right behind me. Up on the wall.
There she is. Yep.
So, all right. Well, that wraps. As soon as I get my monitor back. All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do have a shout out. I don't know because we record these so far in advance. It's difficult for me to know exactly when people are going to hear this, watch this, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wanted to. I think the way that this is going to be planned out, this will probably be around the holidays, the first of the year, maybe somewhere around there. I think. So if that's the case, or if it's slightly afterwards. I just want to like give a shout out to everybody who's listening and watching and supporting us, and supporting our show and supporting our our other shows that we do, whether it's the Earth Station DCU or uh, Earth Station Who or the Dragon Con Report or any of the works that Drew and I are part of, any of the projects. Personally, I recently spent some time in the hospital and I really appreciated everybody who, supported me during that time. And I just don't want to take it for granted that we have all these people that look to us and that are having fun with us, our fellow bat chums, so to speak. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all of our fellow bat chums out there. And we really appreciate you guys. And we are going to keep doing this as long as you'll keep having us do it because we're having a lot of fun.
All right. Well, originally I was going to shout out about the Batcopter, but since I kind of did that during the show, I actually have another shout out because somebody sent this to me recently. They opened up a Batman 66 museum here in
In Indy.
Indiana.
Yeah, I heard about that. That sounds
And
exciting.
I'm
And
trying to
it
see.
wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me. I would love to have this museum, but
It's
it's
right in your
called,
backyard.
yes, I'm going to have to go check this out because it looked awesome. I'm, I'm trying to find out. Okay, here we go. It's called the Fiberglass Freaks Batman Museum and is located in Logansport, Indiana. Website is fiberglassfreaks.com. glassfreaksmuseum.com. So we'll put that in the show notes so you guys can go check it out. But did you take a look at what I sent you over, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've been following their progress because they had a crowdfunding effort to get opened, and I really was like, this is crazy. But I saw some people who went that took some pictures as well as they posted some pictures of their opening weekend, which was, I believe, Halloween weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And it looks incredible. I mean, it's not just like a little small little place where they've got memorabilia. I mean, they've got places for great photo ops. They look like they had a Batmobile in there. They've got like a scenario that looks like stuff from the movie. You can take a photo op like if it's like you're climbing the walls, like the outside walls, like the dynamic duo do and stuff like that. It looks really, really like a fun place. So I'm hoping that I get a chance to visit. So, and I'm hoping that that Drew and I can pop up there together. So, and make them
yeah, that'd be
uh
awesome.
yeah. So that sounds like a really really fun thing to do, and it's so amazing that it's so close to you. That it's right in your backyard for fellow bat chums out there.
Yep. So yeah, I was surprised. My son sent that to me. So right when I think it was the day before Halloween or something like that, or maybe it was on Halloween, he sent that to me.
It looks
But
really cool.
I was like, man, I gotta have to check that out. Looked like they had bat poles there and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the pictures on here. I see some of the oceanic repellent bat sprays. There's the shark repellent bat spray right there. Yeah, but we'll put that in the show notes so you guys can check that out. Who knows? Maybe some of our bat chums can plan a vacation to Indiana. All
Sounds
right,
good.
all right. If you'd like to, all right, if you'd like to comment on, all right, I'm trying to do this from memory. All right, if you'd like to comment on the show, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. You can text us, leave us a message, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. Yes, I remember the number off the top of my head.
Woo! I can't even remember
All
my own
right.
number.
All right. You ready to get out of here, Bat Chum?
Bat chums are ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
On a much smaller screen. On a much smaller screen. Don't worry, the worst is still yet to come.